Hi, this is Dan Heisman, Philly tutor for Chess FM. This is the Improve Your Chess video series for ICC members. Today's game, we're going to look at a relatively fast 45-5 game played between a couple of 1,300 players. It's a very typical game in that as long as the game is reasonable, they play fairly reasonable moves. But when things get critical, they have a tendency to not really take their time and analyze. So let's take a look at the game. All right, so white opens up e4, black plays Sicilian, c5, white plays knight c3. That could be a Grand Prix attack or a closed Sicilian. Normally black plays knight c6 here. Black plays g6. A little bit strange move order, but usually transposes. If white wants to try something crazy, he can try d4 right away. Pawn takes, queen takes, hitting the rook. Black could guard. White would play e5. Knight c6. Queen f4, guarding the e-pawn. Knight h5. Queen e3. And now the computer made the suggestion that black should play bishop g7 when white should play knight f3 with equality. Again, this isn't the game at all. But suppose white tries to win a piece with g4 to trap the knight. Then black saves it and more by playing the interesting move d5, which has the double threat of d4 forking the queen and the knight, and bishop takes g4. And white can't stop both threats, and therefore black is already much better, so g4 is just a mistake. Thought that was interesting, but back to the game. So white plays g3 and says, I'll just play a closed Sicilian anyway, no matter what move order you're playing. Black fianchettos, white fianchettos, black develops the knight. Notice both sides are playing instantly, even though this is a little bit of a strange move order. Usually when your opponent plays a strange move order, you want to kind of stop and say, what should I do about this? White plays knight ge2, a very old line. The main lines are to play d3 and bishop e3, or d3 and f4. Knight ge2. Knight d4, stopping any possibility of white playing, transposing into a d4 opening. White castles. Black plays d6, d3, knight f6. And white decides to develop with bishop e3, threatening to win the pawn on d4. And here the Stockfish engine suggests black's best move is to play e5. Instead, he plays the natural move knight to g4, which puts a second defender on the knight and hits the bishop. Here, Stockfish wants to save the bishop pair so that neither side has the bishop pair by playing bishop g5, with a slight advantage for white. Instead, white gives up the bishop pair voluntarily, giving black a pretty good game. Black, of course, does not want to take with the bishop and give it right back, so he takes with the pawn. White plays knight d5, and black says, bye-bye, Mr. Knight. The knight comes back. The knights are a little redundant here. They're guarding each other. They're a little awkward. So here, black's best move to stop any funny business on the discovery on the knight would be just bring the knight back to f6. And notice that on knight f6, white can't play knight d4 because of the fork. All right, but instead, black plays e5, re-giving the d5 square to the knight, a little bit strange. So, knight d5. Now notice, just to give you an idea, this knight only has 2 safe squares, and d5 is obviously more attractive than h3, but white takes about 50 seconds to make that move. Later in the game, you're going to see some much more crucial